It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and today it will be all about the Pittsburgh Steelers as we start to preview the upcoming 2021 NFL season. We'll take a look at some training camp quick hits. We'll look at some reasons for optimism as well as some causes for concern. And we will take a look at both the offensive and defensive side of football and talk positional breakdown. But first, let's take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the Steelers season as we go into our 4-minute offense. Is it Ben Roethlisberger's final season in the NFL? We don't know, but the 18-year veteran took a pay cut to stay around, and it feels like he hints at it every offseason. And while he enjoyed a bounce-back campaign in 2020, his play started to tail off later in the season and also into the playoffs. If it is indeed his last season, it's been one hell of a career for Roethlisberger, one that has seen him throw for over 60,000 yards, 396 touchdowns to only 201 interceptions, 6 Pro Bowls, 2 Super Bowl championships, and only 1 losing season as a full-year starting quarterback. The next team he'll play for will be right across the PA-Ohio border in Canton. This year's offensive line will look a lot different. Gone are longtime starters Marquise Pouncey, who retired, David DeCastro, who may retire, and Alejandro Villanueva, who's now the starting tackle for the Baltimore Ravens. Matt Fiedler is also no longer with the team, and we'll see at least 3 to 4 new starters up front this season for Pittsburgh, and with that amount of change comes a lot of questions. Now, the Steelers struggled to run the football last year, finishing 32nd in the league, and the hope is that with a new group, new offensive line coach, and new or renewed commitment to the running game, that'll help them improve from that 32nd ranking just a season ago. How quickly they gel could ultimately determine how effective both Ben Roethlisberger in the passing game is and the running game as a whole. Pittsburgh seems to always do a really good job in the NFL draft, and this past April wasn't any different as they were able to grab 2 players that will remind Steeler faithful of past excellence. Running back Najee Harris and tight end Pat Freiermuth both remind me of former Steelers Le'Veon Bell and Heath Miller respectively, and both players should help aid an offense that was 24th in total offense last season. Harris was my top back in the draft class, and Freiermuth was my top inline prospect in the draft class as well. If those 2 guys can play like the aforementioned Steelers, then this offense will be in good hands moving forward. This year, the Steelers will have a new OC, new QB coach, and offensive line coach. Matt Canada, who was a longtime college coach and the QB coach last season, was promoted to offensive coordinator to help jumpstart this offense. Mike Sullivan, who is a 17-year NFL coaching vet, was hired to take over as QB coach, and former NFL offensive lineman Adrian Clem got himself a promotion as well, taking over up front along the offensive line. And with the new changes comes new perspective, new ideas, and new voices, and head coach Mike Tomlin hopes that can change the result of what we saw last year and bring much more game-to-game consistency on that side of the ball. Statistically speaking, Ben Roethlisberger had a very good year. 65% completion percentage, over 3,800 yards passing, and a 33-10 touchdown to interception ratio. Not bad for a guy coming off of an elbow injury that kept him out of virtually all of 2019. However, it was at 6.3 yards per attempt that was the major issue about the passing game last year. That was his lowest number in his career. And the hope is that with the new offense led by Matt Canada, Roethlisberger will be able to push the ball a bit more downfield vertically this season. It's not like they don't have the weapons, and if that yards per attempt can increase a full yard, they'll be just fine in 2021. The real story, however, of the summer will be between the backup quarterback duties, and you look at the future heir apparent possibility as well. That'll take place between Mason Rudolph, Josh Dobbs, and former first-round pick Dwayne Haskins. The team has tried to let Rudolph play himself into that role, but he hasn't been able to seize that opportunity. Dobbs was re-signed this offseason after spending a season in Jacksonville, and Haskins is the more intriguing option. He was a first-round pick 2 years ago and widely considered a top-tier talent at the position. The last time Pittsburgh had a quarterback of that talent caliber, it was Ben Roethlisberger. So we'll see if Haskins can make the most of his second chance in a more stable environment. If not, the Steelers will definitely be in the quarterback market very early in 2022. When you take a running back in the first round of the NFL draft, you're basically saying that you need a difference maker at the position, and that's what Najee Harris is. He's got the vision, the footwork, the balance, the power, and the versatility to be a foundational back in today's game and for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and also to help spearhead their rushing attack for the near future. His arrival actually allowed backs like Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland Jr. to slide into more complementary roles within his offense, which are much suited for their skill set. They may end up being much more productive as a result, and I'm a big fan of McFarland and hope to see them utilize his speed a little bit more on the field this year. I would also expect to see much more of Derek Watt this season, especially with an emphasis on strengthening the run game, as he's one of the better fullbacks in the NFL. Pittsburgh seems to always have talent at wide receiver, and it is always an abundance of talent, it seems like. The trio of Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypool are one of the stronger trios in the AFC. Johnson and Claypool haven't even began to scratch their potential out there on the perimeter, and all three went over 800 yards receiving last year, and we could see one or maybe even two of them break the 1,000-yard barrier this upcoming season. James Washington is a valuable reserve that seems to have a game or two every season where he makes a ridiculous play. And a couple of undrafted rookie free agents of intrigue to keep an eye on: Isaiah McCoy of Kent State and Rico Bussey out of Hawaii. Both guys could vie for spots within his depth chart, as they are explosive talents with big play capability. Now, adding rookie Pat Freiermuth to the tight end group strengthens this unit as a whole, as Eric Ebron is a capable option, but he fights with inconsistency at times, but he doesn't miss opportunities to score the ball. It's the consistency on both ends of offense from Freiermuth that makes him more important to this unit, in my opinion. I'm excited to see how Kevin Rader can continue to grow his game after getting some valuable reps last year. He and Zach Gentry will help round out this unit, providing good depth up front. This is where the focus will be all throughout the season and could play a significant role in the offense's success or failure in 2021. Firstly, I think Kevin Dotson, the second-year player out of Louisiana, will be just fine at guard and will be a true leader up front. Chukwuma Okorafor will flip over to the left side after starting games at right tackle last year. He's an improving, homegrown player that the Steelers really like. Zach Banner is another one of these guys as well. He'll step in at right tackle. He was expected to start last year, but got injured in week 1 and was out the rest of the season. In free agency, they brought back B.J. Finney to compete with J.C. Hassenauer at center, and he signed Trey Turner from the L.A. Chargers. So on its surface, while it looks like a new unit, it features a lot of familiarity for the coaching staff. I would expect to see Kendrick Green, the third-round rookie out of Illinois, to vie for an opportunity at either guard or center. He has really good athleticism and is explosive right off the ball. Both Rashad Coward and Joe Haig were free agent signees who are expected to provide good swing depth on the inside. For me, it's more about how quickly they can gel together, more so than the talent that they have up front. The Steelers' defensive line is a problem each and every Sunday for opposing offenses. Cam Hayward is the star up front and is one of the top defensive linemen in the NFL. And last year, we saw sort of a breakout year from Stephon Tuitt, who finished with 11 sacks, which was the best in his career. He was also strong versus the run as well. Tyson Alualu gets the respect that he deserves as he got re-signed and is looking to replicate his sack total of 7 while also continuing to be a solid run defender. Carlos Davis and Isaiah Buggs provide really good depth along with Chris Wormley, and I believe Davis could be in line for a breakout season of sorts. And 5th-round pick Isaiah Loudermilk out of Wisconsin will try to work himself into the rotation, as will Henry Mondu. Pittsburgh does a really good job, I believe, of keeping this group fresh and active for a full season. Getting back Devin Bush helps make this unit very special, in my opinion. Bush's absence was felt last year as he was starting to trend toward becoming a Pro Bowler, and he and TJ Watt are difference makers at the second level for Pittsburgh. Watt has blossomed into one of the league's most disruptive players consistently. I would expect Alex Highsmith to have a huge bump in productivity as he'll step in for the departed Bud Dupree. Highsmith flashed in his 5 starts last year and is ready for that role, in my opinion. Rookie 6th-round pick Quincy Roche out of Miami was a steal, in my opinion, getting someone that has his ability off the edge that late in the draft is not only great value, but it gives them a very good situational rusher in rotation. And I was happy the team was able to bring back Vince Williams, the veteran, as he gives them a bit of stability on the inside. But it wouldn't surprise me to see more of Robert Spillane work in there alongside Bush, as he took full advantage of the increased role he got last year. Marcus Allen seems to have made a good transition to inside linebacker as the team finally figured out a role for him, and he and rookie Buddy Johnson out of Texas A&M will provide depth on the inside. As is the case with the offensive line, the secondary has undergone some changes. Right now, two-time All-Pro Minkah Fitzpatrick and three-time Pro Bowler Joe Hayden are the only surefire bets on the back end. Fitzpatrick has been exactly what they've needed back there since Troy Polamalu, which is a playmaker and a mistake eraser on the back end. Hayden has shown no signs of slowing down, quite honestly, and is their best cover corner. Now, opposite of him is where they'll need guys to step in and step up. One in particular is Cameron Sutton, who was a valuable reserve within this secondary and now will be asked to start. The good news is that, one, he's a really solid player, and two, he started games for them over the course of his career. The battle will be between Justin Layne and James Pierre. Layne was drafted in the 3rd round 2 years ago and hasn't really made a dent in that rotation, and Pierre was an undrafted rookie free agent last year out of Florida Atlantic and impressed with his play last season and during OTAs and minicamp this past spring. So in an ideal world, both guys will step up and play well, but we'll see. Safety Terrell Edmonds didn't get the 5th-year option picked up by the team, but that puts him now in a prove-it type situation, and he's been a bit up and down so far in his career, and we'll have to hold off rookie Trey Norwood out of Oklahoma, who can play either safety spot and has above average ball skills, which is going to be key. And I'm excited to see how second-year player Antoine Brooks Jr. progresses, as he has the right mentality to play defense and for this franchise. One of the major reasons for optimism for Pittsburgh is the fact that their defensive front seven is still really good. You're talking about a defense that was top 5 last year in the NFL, and that front seven has arguably the best defensive line in the division and a linebacking core that's both active and aggressive. You also have to be optimistic about their rededication to the run game. You add Najee Harris, the tremendous tailback out of Alabama. You say you're going to be more serious about running the football, which harkens back a time when the Pittsburgh Steelers really dominated teams consistently each and every week. And Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season in his coaching career as the Steelers head coach. So until I see that happen, you always have an opportunity to be optimistic about a Pittsburgh Steelers season heading into a new year. A cause for concern would be if that offensive line shows inconsistency throughout the year. They have to really get it together from start to finish if this offense really wants to take off and be productive. And if the cornerback situation gets shaky or continues to be shaky all throughout the season outside of Joe Hayden, they really need those guys to step up and take ownership of the 2 and 3 roles on his team. Otherwise, that back end could have some issues. And if Big Ben really starts to decline, could be the derailment to everything, because they want to prolong his career by helping the run game and also allowing him some opportunities to throw the football deep down the field to those talented wideouts. But if he really starts to decline, like if last year wasn't an aberration, this season could be off the rails before it even gets started. Taking a look at some training camp quick hits, and we'll start with the camp surprises on offense. There's a bunch of them. Let's start with Dwayne Haskins. When you have a stable situation, this is philosophical in life, a stable situation allows you to reach your full potential. And I don't think we've seen the fullest potential of Dwayne Haskins just yet. We'll see that in Pittsburgh. And a couple of undrafted free agents that I mentioned earlier, Isaiah McCoy out of Kent and also Rico Bussey out of Hawaii. We know Pittsburgh does a great job of drafting wide receivers. They also do a great job of acquiring wide receivers as undrafted rookie free agents. Look for these two guys to not only make noise, but perhaps make the roster. And quietly in the secondary, keep an eye out for Mark Gilbert. His biggest issue was injuries at Duke, but when he was out there, he was a ball magnet. If he's healthy, he'll have a chance to surprise and make a name for himself during camp. Rookie impact players this year, one is an obvious one, and that's Najee Harris, the outstanding tailback. He'll start from day one, he'll thrive from day one, and he'll be an impressive player and make the Pro Bowl, in my opinion. And Quincy Roche, being a situational role as a rusher, to me is almost ideal for a rookie, because he can come in and just do one thing, and that one thing they're going to ask him to do, he does it very well. Some X factors, I'll look at Kendrick Green up front with the rest of that offensive line, the new look offensive line will have to be the X factor. If they can hit the ground running and provide that stability, this offense shouldn't miss a beat. And Cameron Sutton is a big X factor. They need him to be the quote-unquote clear-cut number 2 guy, which he will be, opposite of Joe Hayden. So that way you can kind of ease guys into that third role, but they need him to really take a stranglehold to that number 2 spot and take off. Breakout players for this year offensively, I look at Kevin Dotson. I talked about it earlier in this show. He is going to be someone that's going to be the rock up front, a key cornerstone to this offensive line that should look better than expected in 2021. And defensively, James Pierre, I thought was impressive last year. I was glad he was able to get an opportunity to get out there on the field. And it seems like he's taken that opportunity from last year and just use it as motivation as he went into the spring. Had a really good spring in OTAs and mini camps. I think this just sets the table for him to have a fantastic 2021 season. The road to the Super Bowl for the Steelers goes as follows. Number 1, that offensive line stabilizes and become an asset, not a liability. If those new guys can gel together, we know they have the skill players to really beat teams out there each and every Sunday. And if Najee Harris goes over 1,200 rushing yards, which I think will happen, this team could definitely be a problem on offense. And the secondary continues to turn the ball over. That's an underrated part of what they did last year. They were able to find the football consistently. If that happens, Pittsburgh will have a lot of success in the regular season, which will lead into the postseason and hopefully lead them to LA in February. I have the Steelers finishing 3rd in the AFC North. When you have a lot of moving pieces in 2 spots that require continuity, offensive line, secondary, it can cause some problems, and I think they'll work those issues out early on during the season. But in a very tough division, one that saw 3 playoff teams last year, I think we'll see the same type of situation this upcoming season, where the Steelers will have a winning record, but will probably finish 3rd behind both the Browns and the Ravens. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating. That's where you can find our scout team and also NFL All 32 podcast.
It's D-U-E, you tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.